Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. It's wonderful to be here in SriRadhaRasbihariTemple. It's a very wonderful temple and so much going on here. It's very nice. America is very different. Nowhere like India. India is a special place. Anyway, so Hare Krishna. So I'm going to do a few verses actually, starting with text number 39. So I'll just say the Sanskrit and then I'll say the translation, read the purport, and then I'll do the next verse. Apmaramasya tasyema vayam vayagriha dakshika Savasanga nirityatha tapasacha babhuvima. Translation. Thus, by renouncing all material association and practicing austere penances, we queens have all become personal maidservants of the self-satisfied Supreme Lord. Purport by the servants of Srila Prabhupada. In the opinion of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, Srimati Lakshmana became embarrassed when she realized that she had been talking about herself, and so she spoke this verse praising her co-wives. In her humility, Lakshmana claimed that Krishna's queens, unlike ordinary wives, could not bring their husband under control, and thus they could relate to him only as servile housekeepers. In fact, however, since the Lord's queens are direct expansions of his internal pleasure potency, Lidini Shakti, they fully controlled him with their love. So Krishna is controlled by love. There's a verse, it says that just as the sun is always hot, and the moon is always cooling, and the ocean is very deep, and the sages are always very grave, similarly, the Lord was always controlled by love. So, Krishna's, nobody can control Krishna, but Radharani, she loves him the most, so she can control Krishna. So that's why we worship Radharani, because she is the greatest devotee. So now, text number 40. Mahisha uchu bomam nihatya saganam. Hold on. Bomam nihatya saganam yuditena rutha. Just me. Gyatvatana shiti jaye jita rajakanya. Nirmucha samshriti vimoksham anusmaranti. Padambujam parinaya aptakama. Okay, translation. Rohini Devi, speaking for the other queens, said, after killing Bhaumasura and his followers, the Lord found us in the demon's prison and could understand that we were the daughters of the kings whom Bhauma had defeated during his conquest of the earth. The Lord set us free, and because we had been constantly meditating upon his lotus feet, the source of liberation from material entanglement, he agreed to marry us, though his every desire is already fulfilled. Purport. Rohini Devi was one of the 9 queens questioned by Draupadi in text 6 and 7, and thus it is assumed that she speaks here representing 16,099 other queens. Srila Prabhupada confirms this in Krishna, the Supreme personality of Godhead. Okay, so now we're going to do the verses together. If you can repeat after me. Navayam sadvi samrajam swarajam bojam apyuta vairajam paramesyam cha anancham vahare padam kamayamaha etasya Srimad Pada Rajashriya Kucha Kunkuma Gandadyam Murdna Vodum Gadabrita Navayam Sadvi Samrajam Swarajam Bojam Apyuta Vairajam Paramesyam Cha Anantyam Vahare Padam Kamayamaha Etasya Srimad Pada Rajashriya Kucha Kunkuma Gandadyam Murdna Vodam Gadabrita. Somebody else? Any Vaishnavis? Anyone? Any of the ladies? Avayam sarvi samrajam swarajam bojam apyuta Any other Vaishnavis, ladies? Okay. Word for word, please repeat. Na, not. Vayam, we. Sadvi, O saintly lady. Draupadi. Samrajam, rulership over the entire earth. Swarajam, the position of Lord Indra, King of Heaven. Bojam, unlimited powers of enjoyment. Apiyuta, even. Vairajam, mystic power. Paramestyam, the position of Lord Brahma, creator of the universe. Cha, and. Anantyam, immortality. Va, or. Hare, of the Supreme Lord. Padam, the abode. Kamayame mahe, we desire. Etasya, his. Srimat, divine. Pada, of the feet. Raja, the dust. Shriya, of the goddess of fortune. Kucha, from the breast. Kunkuma, of the cosmetic powder, Gandha, by the fragrance, Adyam, enriched, Murdna, on our heads, Bodham, to carry, Gadabrita, of Lord Krishna, the wielder of the club. Just want to ask a quick question. How many of you know what the word enriched means? Enriched. You know what it means? Anyone else? 2, 3? I'm just testing how good your English is. Enriched means something makes you better off. When you're enriched by something, that means you gain something. Just in case you don't know. Okay. Because sometimes Srila Prabhupada uses English words, well, he didn't translate this, but sometimes we read words that aren't really common in the modern world. Like if you try to read Shakespeare, have you heard of Shakespeare, the writer? Yeah, you've heard of Shakespeare. So, you know, it's very difficult to read Shakespeare now. The language is very more sophisticated. And Sanskrit is the same, because Sanskrit is the most sophisticated language. It's also the oldest language. So you see, Sanskrit, you can easily disprove Darwin's theory. In India they teach Darwin's theory, I believe. It's stupid. Because the original language is the most sophisticated. The vocabulary is 3 times the size of English. So monkeys, they have a very small vocabulary because they're not very intelligent. The more intelligent people are, they need a bigger vocabulary to express themselves properly, right? So Sanskrit has the biggest vocabulary. That means that people were the most intelligent people. But we're taught Darwin's theory, even in India. It doesn't make any sense. Because the British, you know, they conquered India, and they thought they were very clever because they controlled half the world. So they thought we must be the most intelligent people that ever lived because we're the most evolved people. So, you know, the British are not that intelligent. And I don't know why people have to go and see Coldplay. A lot of people, just a couple of days ago, this British band, how many of you heard of Coldplay? Not everybody. That's good. Anyway, 100,000 people went to see Coldplay a couple of days ago in Mumbai. So, but the words have no meaning. And you spend minimum $200. I heard that there were some people who were selling tickets there on the black market for $5,000. Yeah. So, you know, the British, they may be good music, but there's no value, there's no meaning. It doesn't have any meaning. That's why you see this knowledge is so important. And just like, you know, in Europe, in general, they built beautiful cathedrals. You know what a cathedral is? It's a fancy church. A cathedral is a beautiful building. They're really beautiful buildings they built in France, Germany, England, but nobody goes to church anymore. Yeah, they're dead. They're all empty because most people are atheists. And why are they atheists? Because if you go into the church and you see the altar, you don't see deities, you see a cross. It's not that exciting. So you see the Vedic culture now, there's a big difference because the churches in Europe, beautiful buildings, are empty, and, you know, Christ, we love Christ, Prabhupada said, we love Christ, we respect Christ. Christ is great. But people have given up being Christians. Whereas in India, if you go to Tirupati, how long do you have to wait to go and see Balaji? If you're not a foreigner, you have to wait a long time. A few hours, right? So that's the difference between Sanatan Dharma and Upadharma, which Prabhupada said is really just a disturbance in society. So we have the highest knowledge, and so one reason is because no other religion knows who God is. What does he look like? What does he do? So when we read Srimad Bhagavatam and we hear about the queens of Lord Krishna in Dwarka, then this is very advanced knowledge. Even in India, this knowledge is not accepted by everybody. That Krishna had 16,000 wives, Krishna danced in the rasa dance. Many people in South India, they cannot understand this. So they worship Vishnu with 4 arms, which is great. Or they worship, other incarnations. But the highest knowledge is, Krishna's God. And there was a conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Vyankata Bhatt when Lord Chaitanya was traveling in South India. He met Vyankata Bhatt, who was a worshipper of Lakshmi Narayan. And he wanted to know why Lakshmi couldn't enter into the rasa dance. So that, anyway, I'm going to read the verse in the purport because that is mentioned at the end of this chapter, at the end of this verse here, purport. So the translation, please repeat. O saintly lady, we do not desire dominion over the earth, the sovereignty of the King of Heaven, unlimited facility for enjoyment. How many of you know what facility means? Huh? What? Yeah, facility comes from a French word, facile, means easy. So, facility for enjoyment, mystic power, the position of Lord Brahma, immortality, or even attainment of the kingdom of God. We simply desire to carry on our heads the glorious dust of Lord Krishna's feet, enriched by the fragrance of kumkum from his consort's bosom. Okay, please repeat. O saintly lady, we do not desire dominion over the earth, the sovereignty of the King of Heaven, unlimited facility for enjoyment, mystic power, the position of Lord Brahma, immortality, or even attainment of the kingdom of God. We simply desire to carry on our heads the glorious dust of Lord Krishna's feet, enriched by the fragrance of kumkum from his consort's bosom. Okay, the purport by Srila Prabhupada's disciples. The word Raja means to rule, and from it are derived the words Samrajam, meaning rulership over the entire earth, and Swarajam, meaning rulership over heaven. Bhojam comes from the verb bhuj, to enjoy, and thus refers to the capacity of enjoying whatever one desires. Virat is explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti as representing the phrase vividam virajate. One enjoys many kinds of opulence, and specifically indicating the 8 mystic perfections of anima and so on. An alternative explanation of these terms is given by Srila Sridhar Swami, who says that according to the Bhashvarika Brahmin, these four terms designate the power of sovereignty over each of the four cardinal directions. Samraja for the east, Bhoja for the south, Swaraja for the west, and Vairaja for the north. Lord Krishna's queens clearly state that they do not desire any of these powers or even the position of Brahma, liberation or entrance into the kingdom of God. They simply want the dust from Sri Krishna's feet, which Goddess Sri Lakshmi herself worships. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti tells us that the goddess of fortune mentioned here is not Lakshmi, the consort of Narayan. After all, the Acharya explains, Goddess Lakshmi could not attain the direct association of Krishna, even after performing extended austerities, as Uddhava states, Nayam Shriyo Inga Nitanta Rate Prasada, Bhagavatam 10:47-60. Rather, the Shri referred to here is the supreme goddess of fortune identified by the Brihad Gautamiya Tantra, Devi Krishna Maya Prokta Radhika Paradevata, Sava Lakshmi Mai Sava Kanti Samohini Para. The transcendental goddess Srimati Radharani is the direct counterpart of Lord Sri Krishna. She is the central figure for all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. She is the primeval internal potency of the Lord. Om Jnanatamrandasya Gyananjanan Shlakaya Chakshurumnatamyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, the queens of Dwarka, they are obviously pure devotees, and actually, if you read, there's a book called the Lalita Madhava, which was written by Rupa Goswami, Vidagdha Madhava and Lalita Madhava. And one of the queens, Satyabhama, who's actually Radharani, when Rupa Goswami was in a place called Satyabhamapur in Bengal, he had a dream, and he dreamt that Satyabhama came to him and said, don't try to take Krishna out of Vrindavan. So Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. But here we see that, he's living in Dwarka, but also some of the gopis, they appeared in Dwarka also. Like Satyabhama was an incarnation of Radharani, according to Lalita Madhava. And Rukmini was an incarnation of Chandravali. Yeah, okay. So it's all related, but we have to understand that the devotees in Dwarka, all pure devotees. And so Vyankata Bhatt, he was trying to understand why the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, not here, Prabhupada, they've explained how Shri has another meaning Radharani, but not that Lakshmi. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, she could not enter the rasa dance because she was worshipping Krishna in the mood of reverence. And also in the discussion between Vyankata Bhatt and Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya said that even Kaliya was fortunate enough to have the dust of Krishna's lotus feet on his hoods, Kaliya. So, but still, Lakshmi, even though she's direct associated with Lord Narayan, she could not enter the rasa dance because she worshipped Krishna with the mood of awe and reverence. It was not ragatmaka bhakti. So this is a difference between the queens of Vrindavan. They do not have the same relationship that the gopis have. So therefore, the gopis, worshipping the gopis and trying to follow in their footsteps by having this mood of Lord Chaitanya. He, Nadanam Najanam Nasundaram Kavatam Vajagadishikamaya Mama Jamanim Jamanisri Bhavadad Bhaktir Hoitiki Twai. I do not desire any amount of wealth, nor any beautiful women, nor any followers. All I want only is your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. So in this world, people aspire or desire material things. And one time Prabhupada said that my disciples, their problem is they want to go to the heavenly planets to enjoy. Actually, when Jayananda Prabhu, he passed away, you've heard of Jayananda? So Jayananda was the first saint in ISKCON. Maybe there's many other saints, you're all saints, but he was the first official saint that Prabhupada recognized. And so when he passed away, Prabhupada wrote a letter to him posthumously, means after he died, and he said that, my dear beloved Jayananda, I remember you from when you were driving a taxi in San Francisco and supporting the temple, because Jayananda would do anything, whatever was needed. He would carry out the garbage, he would wash the pots, he would fix the cars, he would put on the Rath Yatra, he would build a Rath Yatra cart, he would go and get the bhoga for the festival. So Prabhupada was very pleased with him. And so he said that, I think that you have gone back to Krishna, to Goloka Vrindavan. But if you had any material desires, then you have gone to the heavenly planets, and from there you will go directly back to Godhead. So Jayananda was not an ordinary person, and one time when Prabhupada was giving a class, he was standing at the back of the class, Jayananda, and Prabhupada said, oh, he looks like Lord Chaitanya. And people started laughing. So Prabhupada said, no, he really looks like Lord Chaitanya. Another time, because Prabhupada didn't like people to fall asleep in his class. So another time, Jayananda was falling asleep in the class. And, people, devotees were worried, we better wake him up. Prabhupada won't like this. So Prabhupada said, no, don't bother to wake him up. Let him sleep. Because he works so hard. So Jayananda also, because he was very popular with the devotees. One time also, he was also asked to drive Prabhupada's car in New York in 1976 or something. There was the first Rath Yatra in New York City, and he was asked to drive the car, and he said, no, I can't drive the car because I don't feel pure enough to be next to Srila Prabhupada. So, everybody wanted to be close to Prabhupada, but Jayananda, he would rather just serve in the background. Prabhupada, he was Prabhupada's favorite. So, So we're not desiring any material enjoyment because these things will not satisfy the soul. The only thing that satisfies the soul is pure devotional service. And even Lakshmi, she could not enter the rasa dance because she worshipped the Lord in a mood of awe and reverence. So back in the early days of ISKCON, in New Dwarka, Los Angeles, Prabhupada said very early on that we should worship the deities, Rukmini Dwarkadish, with a mood of awe and reverence, because we're not on the level of worshipping them with ragatmika, spontaneous devotion. But at the same time, that's the goal, to come to that platform of spontaneous love. So even, actually it's said that Surpanaka, she got her nose cut off. But she so desired Ram or Lakshman, and so in her next birth, who did she take birth as? Kubja. That's right. Okay. So many of the sages in Dandakaranya, they took birth as gopis, actually. Like some of the wives of Mithila, and some of them fell in love with the Yagyamurtis, the deities made of Ram. And they wanted to have a relationship, but Ram had one wife. So they got the benediction of appearing in Krishna Lila as gopis. So, because we can't consider ourselves gopis, but it is a fact that Prabhupada came, he said many times, to teach you how to dance with Krishna. That's what Prabhupada said. But he also said, to think you're a gopi, that's an offense. So we're not trying to, necessarily become gopis. We're trying to just appreciate Krishna's pastimes, and the highest pastimes are those in Brajabhumi, Vrindavan Dham. So Lochan Das Thakur, whose disappearance day is today, he wrote a wonderful book. You know what it's called? Chaitanya Mangala. What was the other name? It has another name before that. Okay, Chaitanya Bhagavat. So in the Chaitanya Mangala, because Vyasadeva, what's his name? Who wrote Chaitanya Bhagavat? What's his name? Vrindavan Das Thakur, yeah. So, he'd already written describing Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. So Krishnadas Kaviraj, he changed the name of Chaitanya Bhagavat, which was written by Lochan Das Thakur, to Chaitanya Mangala. So in the Chaitanya Mangala, it's described how Rukmini, she was with Krishna in Dwarka. And she was dressed very beautifully, and Krishna came in, and she started to massage Krishna's feet. And then she started crying. And so Krishna asked her, "Why are you crying? I'm here with you. You live in a beautiful palace, you have everything you need. You should not be crying." So Rukmini said that actually I'm crying because people do not understand how beautiful your lotus feet are. Therefore I'm feeling sorry for them, and you don't know what it's like also, that you don't know what it's like to love you, because you are Krishna and we love you, and therefore we have these feelings of love which you can't experience because you're Krishna himself. So therefore, one reason why Krishna appeared as Lord Chaitanya was to taste the love that the devotees taste by serving and being with Krishna. So that is in Chaitanya Mangala. And of course many other pastimes are there. So I was going to read a song, and if I have the commentary, Prabhupada wrote a commentary. Here we are. This is commentary of this Paramakaruna. Paramakaruna is a famous song. Prabhupada sang it. So I won't go through the whole song, but I'll read the purport by Srila Prabhupada. He said, this is a song by Lochan Das Thakur. Lochan Das declares that the two lords, Nitai Gaura Chandra, Lord Nitai and Lord Chaitanya, are very merciful. They are the essence of all incarnations. The specific significance of these incarnations is that prosecuting their way of self-realization is simply joyful, for they introduce chanting and dancing. There are many incarnations like Lord Ram and even Krishna who taught Bhagavad-gita, which requires knowledge and understanding. But Lord Chaitanya introduced a process which is simply joyful, simply chant and dance. Therefore, Lochan Das requests everyone, my dear brother, I request that you just worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda with firm conviction and faith. Don't think that this chanting and dancing will not lead to the desired goal. It will. It is the assurance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one will get all perfections by this process. Therefore, one must chant with firm faith and conviction. It doesn't even matter if you're not a good musician. So, we like to hear Coldplay. I met some initiated devotees that went to see Coldplay. Anyway. So they might be good musicians, I don't know. I tried to listen to them, I found it boring. But Prabhupada wasn't concerned so much about the musicianship, because when he was leaving his body, in the period before he passed away, he wanted to hear the chanting of the holy name, the Maha Mantra. And sometimes late at night, 2 o'clock in the morning or something, there wasn't anyone good singer available. So somebody would have to sing who was tone deaf. You know what tone deaf means? They couldn't sing. Not a very good singer. But Prabhupada, he didn't mind. He said, this is the medicine. So, the Maha Mantra chanted by somebody who's out of tune or whatever is 1,000,000 times better than any other musicians who just chant something meaningless. So the chanting and dancing, that will lead to perfection. So Prabhupada, like when I was in London in 1976, when Prabhupada came to London, he was on his way to America because he wanted to establish Varnashram. In other words, simple living, high thinking, living off the land. You ready to go and live in a village? It's hard for us to live in villages. But anyway, that's what he wanted. He came to London and he was too sick. He couldn't talk. He just sat on, he was very thin, couldn't stand up. We had to carry him everywhere. But what he enjoyed was sitting on his Vyasasan, and the devotees, they were just chanting Hare Krishna for hours on end. And he was simply happy watching them chant and dance. Because that is the process, just, Harinam. Harinam is so important. Like, if you go on Harinam, the best place, maybe India is better. I'm going to the Kumbh Mela. I'm sure that would be good. But in London, it's very good for Harinam, because many people, a lot of Muslims actually in London, they have a lot of money because they have all this oil, and they go to London to spend their money on nice watches and nice clothes underneath the dress. So when they see the Harinam, they become very happy. And they all get their cameras out and they film it, because they've never seen anything like this before. You know, they're living in a desert or a horrible materialistic city, no spirituality, really. And they're seeing the chanting and the dancing and they love it. And so they will go back to Bahrain or Saudi Arabia, wherever it is, and they will show their friends these crazy people dancing and chanting this mumbo jumbo, and it's actually the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So they will hear it, and this is how the Hare Krishna movement will spread all over the world. Actually, in London, we have several Muslims who became devotees. One boy from Egypt, Abdullah. Abdullah actually means, anyone know what Abdullah means? You don't speak Arabic? It means slave of God, slave of God. One boy from Egypt, another boy from Saudi Arabia. He said he can't go back to Saudi Arabia in his dhoti and kurta because they'll kill him. Maybe in 50 years. So, you know, the chanting and the dancing is so important. So this is Harinam. You know, Prabhupada said everybody should go out on the Sankirtan party. So we used to go out in London and we used to get arrested. You know, people would, the police would come along, they would arrest us and take us to the jail, because we didn't really stay in the jail. It's quite, London now is quite liberal. You can go, even though at that time, you know, we were just trying to distribute books on the street in London. So we would get chased by the police. But now, you know, even on the busiest street, we can have a book table and the police don't say anything. So they've been purified. So, you know, the Hare Krishna movement, Lord Chaitanya's movement is changing the world, and it will continue to do so. And, you know, we have to try to be enthusiastic to spread this knowledge, because that is Anandam Buddhivardhanam, the life of all transcendental knowledge, to go out and preach and tell people about Krishna. Even if you stand at the back in the Harinam party and you chant a little bit, that's something. But try to be enthusiastic. So anyway, this is, and then at the end of this life, you know, well, wait, let me just finish this song here. But what is the process? If one wants to be Krishna conscious by this process, one has to give up his engagement in sense gratification. That is the only restriction. If one gives up sense gratification, it is sure that he will reach the desired goal. One simply has to chant Hare Hare without, yeah, there you go, without any motive of sense gratification. Lochan Das says, my dear brother, you just try and examine this. Within the three worlds, there is no one like Lord Chaitanya or Lord Nityananda, because their merciful qualities are so great that they make even birds and beasts cry, what to speak of human beings. Actually, when Lord Chaitanya passed through the forest known as Jarikhand, the tigers, elephants, snakes, deer, and all other animals joined him in chanting Hare Krishna. It is so nice that anyone can join. Even the animals can join, what to speak of human beings. Of course, it is not possible for ordinary men to induce animals to chant. But if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could inspire animals to chant, at least we can encourage human beings to adopt this path of the Hare Krishna mantra chanting. It is so nice that even the most stone-hearted man will be melted It is so nice that even stone will melt. So one time in Paris, the devotees would go on Sankirtan, on Harinam, and the French people, they would block their ears. They didn't want to hear the chanting. So when Prabhupada was told this, he said that you have to go around and you have to pull their hand away from their ears. So people don't want to take the medicine. They're sick and they're dying, but they don't know, what is the most important thing. So you're very lucky because Indian people, many of them, they have an innate, inborn tendency for spirituality. And that's why we see that, there are so many temples in India. It's much easier to make devotees here. I live in America, and it's very hard. People are very confused about life. They're a lot of them have mental depression, and they take, tranquilizers, pills. But Indian people, they're lucky because they all believe in reincarnation. They don't know what they'll be in the next life. There's a lot of Indian people in America now. A lot of the colleges, there's apparently about 660,000 Indian students in the USA. You meet many of them. They're usually okay, but because they're in America, they kind of get bewildered by American culture. But it has nothing to offer. There's nothing there. The only real culture is Vedic culture. So we should have faith in the Vedas, in the process of Bhakti Yoga, and this will bring us perfection. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. If anyone has any questions, quickly. Unless you Maharajas would like to add anything. No questions? Any ladies' questions? All right, well, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.